Welcome all to today's presentation with Asia Answers, Singapore, a virtual vacation, the city that's known as the Lion City, a place where passion is made possible. Often a destination that is considered a stopover, but many people have learnt and also well liked Singapore as being a great option for pre and post cruise options, but also a destination that is a standalone vacation spot in itself. So over the next 40 to 45 minutes, we're going to showcase to you what Singapore is all about. And of course, the people that have made this possible is our travel advisors. They're the ones who have invited you here today, and they have been instrumental in the last 6 to 7 months as we've moved through the coronavirus, COVID-19, promoting destinations that we believe that people will really be looking at traveling to when international travel opens back up. We're already starting to see a trickling of this as we go throughout the South Pacific, Asia, and Africa. Many of you will already know that Tahiti is open, so chat to your local travel advisor about that. Many people will also be noticing many places in East Africa are starting to open up. So watch this space for more information on that as well. And of course, many places throughout Asia are starting to position themselves to later open up in the last quarter of this year or early in 2021. So if you need more details on any destination, you need to contact your travel advisor. We've seen so many great reasons why everybody is so happy that they booked with a travel advisor. Obviously, when COVID-19 hit, people were all around this great globe of ours. And unfortunately, many had to start to return home. But what we did find is those who had booked with a travel advisor got the best service. There's a number of different reasons to book with a travel advisor: peace of mind, customer service, maximize your budget, great choices, save time, personal service. This is my personal favorite. In fact, isn't it nice to be able to pick up the phone, dial a number, and somebody actually pick up the phone, and then you can speak to them about your decision, your dilemma, or also just in regards to advice moving forward. And that's what a travel advisor has brought to the table. Of course, they've also got great insight and expertise, document assistance, and also consumer advocates and industry contacts. So your travel advisor is the person who goes off to conferences. They also visit many of these destinations and also have people who know these destinations inside out. So booking with a travel advisor is the number one way to ensure that your trip gets off to a great start. However, we're here to learn a little bit more now about Singapore. Singapore was once a Malaysian state. In 1965, though, when it was announced that Singapore would become independent, many predicted that the tiny island nation with no natural resources would actually fail. So 55 years later, Singapore has overtaken its motherland to become one of the richest and most developed countries in the world. You can see it here on the map, just only a small little part. How Singapore has achieved such a rise is a topic of hot debate among economists and also political analysts around the world. For the traveller, however, it is all good news. Singapore is a city of many contrasts. It is small in size, but big in surprises that are hidden in every nook and cranny. The city attracts the rich to come and play, yet it is also endearingly claimed as the second home of simpler folks. Historical shop houses and pre-war buildings stand among the backdrop of modern skyscrapers and also architectural wonder pieces. The food delights range from exquisite Michelin star restaurants, of classy restaurants, to the tasty treats of hawker stalls. And shoppers can splurge on luxurious stuff at high-end shops or pick up a bargain in the markets. Located at the tip of the Malaysian peninsula, Singapore aspires to be a city in a garden. And what Singapore sets its sight on, it inevitably comes about. While its skyscrapers and ultra-modern architecture might initially lead one to believe that Singapore is just a concrete jungle, this couldn't be further from the truth. And as you start to explore after a few hours, you soon start to see this as well. One will be struck by Singapore's abundance of parks, nature reserves, and lush tropical greenery. And of course, the city blends Malay, Chinese, Arab, Indian, and English cultures and religions all into one melting pot. Its unique ethnic tapestry affords visitors a wide array of sightseeing and culinary opportunities from which to choose. So it's a little bit of everything in a small little space. A full calendar of traditional festivals and holidays celebrated throughout the year adds to its cultural appeal. In addition, Singapore offers luxury hotels, amazing and delectable cuisine, and of course, great shopping. And it all begins when you arrive into the award-winning Changi Airport, which provides air links to major cities around the world. The train and subway systems are clean, fast, and definitely efficient. In addition, its state-of-the-art cruise terminal has established Singapore as one of the premier cruising centres of Southeast Asia, an exciting port of call on any Asian cruise itinerary. The island republic's excellent infrastructure enables visitors to enjoy its many sights and attractions in a safe, clean, and green environment. The geography of Singapore. Lying 1 degree north of the equator, the Republic of Singapore is located at the end of the Malaysian Peninsula between Malaysia and Indonesia. Singapore has a total land area of around about 278 square miles. But interestingly, it is larger than it used to be. It is actually growing. Singapore has reclaimed land with earth obtained from its own hills, the seabed, and neighbouring countries. As a result, Singapore's land area has actually grown by 16 to 20% since the 1960s and aims to grow by another 20% by 2033, just around the corner. As we touched on, Singapore is quite small. Singapore comprises of a diamond-shaped mainland and 58 smaller islands. The mainland of Singapore measures around about 31 miles from east to west and 17 miles from north to south. The capital city, also called Singapore, covers about a third of the area of the main island. Singapore is separated from Indonesia by the Singapore Strait, which you can see here at the bottom of your screen, and from Malaysia by the Straits of Johor, which is up on the top of your screen. The highest point of Singapore is Bukit Timah Hill, with a height of around about 538 feet. Singapore itself has no natural lakes, but reservoirs and water catchment areas that have been constructed to store fresh water for Singapore's water supply. In the past, Singapore also bought water from Malaysia. Now, according to legend, Singapore was founded centuries ago when a prince from Sumatra landed on the island and saw a lion. He took it as a good omen and founded a city called Singapura, which means Lion City. The legend may or may not be true. In fact, the name Singapura was not recorded until the 16th century, and Singapore was really only a small trading post at that time. Jump forward, modern Singapore was founded in 1819 by Sir Stamford Raffles, a governor with the British East India Company, who believed the British should establish a port on the Straits of Malacca, and decided on Singapore. Singapore was initially leased and then purchased outright from the Sultan of Johor. The British established a new trading post at Singapore, and it grew rapidly, as well as Europeans, Malays, Chinese, Indians, and Arabs who came to live here and work here as well. Now, when the Suez Canal was built in 1869, Singapore became even more important as a gateway between Europe and Eastern Asia. In January 1942, the Japanese conquered Malaysia, and then on the 15th of February 1942, Singapore was forced to surrender. Japanese rule was out of control. Thousands of Chinese Singaporeans were executed. When Japan surrendered, the British reoccupied Singapore. Now, after 1945, Singapore slowly moved towards independence. Self-government was granted in 1959. In 1963, Singapore joined with Malaysia. However, the union was only short-lived, and Singapore left in 1965 and became a completely independent, to this day, so around about 55 or so years. Because of its efficient and determined government, Singapore has become a flourishing country that excels in trade and tourism and is a model to developing nations. Singapore is a great place to visit. It's also a very easy destination to visit as well. And there's so many great options to get to Singapore. I won't go through them all, but there's a couple that the team at Asia Answers will always strongly ask our travel advisors to consider. One of those is Cathay Pacific via Hong Kong, EVA Air via Taipei in Taiwan, and then, of course, the direct flight directly into Singapore on Singapore Airlines. All of these are great airlines, and your travel advisor would be able to suggest the best one moving forward. Now, that may be dependent on connection, that may be based on cost, it may be also based on other destinations that you may want to visit on your itinerary. Your travel advisor will be able to set it out and ensure that you get the most out of your flights, but then also the most out of your trip as well. Now, when is the best time to visit Singapore? Since the city is only 60 miles from the equator, the tropical temperatures do not vary much at all throughout the year. So it is often viewed as an area and a country that doesn't really have any distinct seasons. But to give you a little bit of a more distinct overview, rainfall is throughout the year, and the monsoons are most likely to hit November through to January. Now, temperatures range perfectly from about 72 to 95 degrees all year round. So you can imagine why people in Singapore always have a smile on their face. The weather's great. The hottest months, though, to note are April and May, and it can have a little bit more of a high humidity. Now, Singapore is the world's most religiously diverse nation, with Singaporeans following various religious beliefs and practices due to the country's diverse ethnic and cultural mix. To put it into perspective, 30% of the population practice Buddhism, 11% of the population identify as Christian, 14% as Muslim, and 5% of the population practice Hinduism. And then, as you can see from here, we have 16% that have nothing whatsoever in regards to their religious preference. So definitely a melting pot of cultures, of food, and just of people in general. English is the main language spoken by Singaporeans and the language of instruction in all schools. This makes Singapore one of the easiest Asian countries to visit, as foreign language guides are not necessary. However, there are 4 official languages, just to be aware of: English, Malay, Mandarin, and Tamil. So you've arrived into Singapore, you've come on one of the great carriers that we've pointed out, you've arrived at an award-winning airport, you've then been transferred to your hotel, you've settled in, it's now time to get your belly full. You've got to try some of the great cuisines of Singapore. Singapore is a hot pot of cuisine to eat, incorporating a rich heritage of food dishes consisting of Chinese, Indian, Malaysian, and Indonesian influences. Some of the most popular dishes are the following: chicken rice, steamed chicken served with rice cooked in chicken stock. This all-time favourite dish makes for a quick, fulfilling lunch. The quality of chicken stock is crucial to the dish, and you can tell by the steamed rice oozing with flavour and a fragrant aroma. Pour some dipping sauce over the chicken and give it a go. It's dinner time, it's lunchtime here on the Pacific Northwest. Chili crab sounds all right to me. These are hard shell crabs cooked in semi-thick gravy with tomato chili base. The steamed crabs are partially cracked, then lightly stir-fried in a paste comprising of chili sauce, ketchup, and eggs. Now, despite its name, chili crab is not all that spicy though. Bread is normally ordered to soak up the gravy, so dig in with both hands. Laksa, rice noodles in spicy coconut curry soup with shrimp, fish cakes, egg, and chicken meat, a cross between Chinese and Malay cuisine. Keeping it in the ocean, we now go on to barbecued stingray. Originating in the streets, barbecued stingray has become a popular seafood dish served at the hawker stalls. The classic version features stingray meat slated in thick sambal sauce, a spicy condiment with diced tomatoes, chilies, and shrimp paste as base ingredients, then wrapped in banana leaf to be cooked slowly on a grill. Keeping it in the ocean, we have a fish head curry, a huge fish head and vegetables cooked in a curry and served with rice or bread. usually accompanied by a glass of calamansi or local lime juice. Its origins are in South India with Chinese and Malay influences. In some versions, tamarind juice is added to give a sweet, sour taste. So you've eaten well, you've checked into your hotel, it's now time to get out and explore. Singapore has been described as a playground for the rich, and it's true that the small city-state does have certain sheen of wealth attached to it. But Singapore offers more than just high-end shopping malls, luxury hotels and fine dining. There's also a vibrant history and diverse ethnic quarters to discover, along with the many family-friendly attractions and lovely public spaces. So let's get into it. Singapore itself has an excellent public transportation system that makes getting around convenient and easy. Once you've gotten a sense of the metro map, you'll have no problem zipping from one part of town to the next. English is spoken everywhere, and signs are in English as well. In fact, Singapore is one of the easiest and most comfortable countries to navigate in all of our Asia, if not the world. One place that is synonymous is the Marina Bay Sands. The opulent Marina Bay Sands Resort includes a hotel, high-end luxury stores, a mall with a canal running through it, the Art Science Museum, which is not to be missed, and the Marina Bay Sands Sky Park, a vantage point for taking in the entire city. So this is a beautiful shot here by night. In the day, the Sky Park's viewing deck and infinity pool are found in the ship, yes, you heard correctly, ship that tops the hotel. Only hotel guests are allowed to use the infinity pool, but anyone can visit the observation deck. So one of those things you must do when you're in Singapore. Another place from which to get a bird's eye view of Singapore is the Singapore Flyer, the world's largest giant observation wheel. Choose from several different packages that allow you to be served and pampered while enjoying a view that encompasses not only the Singapore skyline, but reaches to the Spice Islands of Indonesia and Malaysia's Straits of Johor. So you really can see all of Singapore. There are several different ticket packages to choose from, and each includes access to the multimedia Journey of Dreams exhibit that delves into Singapore's history and the creation of the Singapore Flyer. Flights, inverted commas, last approximately 30 minutes and run from early morning until late at night. So you can choose which view of the city you want to enjoy, the beginning of another bustling day or when Singapore is aglow after dark. Now, once you've glimpsed this beautifully designed green space, you won't be able to stay away. Bay East Garden. Wander through the Bay East Garden, perfect for enjoying the vibrant plant life and escaping the city bustle for a moment. You won't want to miss Super Tree Grove, and no one will let you miss it. It'll be the talk of the town, where you'll find a cluster of the iconic futuristic structures designed to perform environmentally sustainable functions. Then head to the Cloud Forest Dome to see the world's tallest indoor waterfall and learn a bit about the biodiversity. Just look at the trails in and around the top of these so you can get the great views from the top of the canopy. Now, not to be confused with the gardens on the bay, the Botanic Gardens are also worth a visit. Singapore received its first UNESCO World Heritage nomination for the Botanic Gardens, and with good reason. The city can sometimes feel like a concrete jungle, albeit a clean and comfortable one, but the Botanic Gardens preserve pieces of Singapore's wildlife heritage. Indeed, you can visit the garden's heritage trees via a walking trail, which are conserved as part of an effort to protect the city's mature species. Even though Singapore continues to move ahead, they are still protecting the environment. Of course, make sure to visit the impressive National Orchid Garden. Other attractions include the Eco Garden, the Eco Lake, the Bonsai Garden, and of course several other gardens and unique sites throughout. If you've ever visited China, Singapore's Chinatown neighbourhood will bring you right back there. From the small mum and pop stores and authentic Chinese food to the bright red lanterns, there's an excitement and hustle in this district. You can visit the Chinese Heritage Centre and see the impressive and beautiful Sri Merriman Hindu Temple. And another temple worth seeing is the Buddha Tooth Relic Temple. If you're up at 4 a.m, you can hear the morning drum ceremony, or you can just check out the closing ceremony in the evening after viewing the relic. Heritage markers have been installed throughout the neighbourhood in English, Japanese and simplified Chinese so visitors can better understand the significance of the area. But this neighbourhood is not just a testament to the influence of the Chinese throughout Singapore's past. This is a progressive neighbourhood and is home to the trendy An Siang Hill, where the quaint bistros and upscale boutiques could be at home in any Western city. One of the most exciting aspects of Singapore is the diversity of its neighbourhoods. Yes, the country is a savvy shopper's paradise, but you'll also find rich traditions, delicious foods, and local character in its old quarters as well. Nowadays, no more will you see this than in Little India and also the Arab Street, which is often known as the Arab Quarter. The Indian community has a rich history in Singapore, and this dates back more than 200 years. Singapore's name, as we touched on, in Sanskrit means Lion City, according to Little India's official website. Today, the neighbourhood is a thriving, colourful place where traditional holidays are celebrated, and visitors can observe worship and activity at the temple or purchase saris while mingling with local vendors. In the Arab Quarter, you'll want to visit the historic Sultan Mosque. Originally built in 1825, non-Muslims are not permitted in the prayer hall, though you can appreciate the distinctive golden domes and craftsmanship of the exterior structure. Haji and Bali lanes are especially good spots to shop for something a little more unique than a designer handbag, and you'll also find yourself surrounded by music and food. You'll be transported away to another world, as there are countless restaurants and different activities in this region. One place that needs no introduction is the Raffles Hotel. This colonial building is one of the world's last grand 19th century hotels and was once visited by literary luminaries such as Rudyard Kipling and Joseph Conrad, as well as movie stars such as Charlie Chaplin. Built back in 1887, the Raffles Hotel has served as a Singapore landmark for well over a century and continues to live up to its Tony reputation with excellent food and service. Now, many of you will know it's just done a bit of a refurb, a bit of a re-restoration, so to speak, and it's back better than ever. The classical architecture and tropical gardens provide a refined setting and represent another facet of Singapore's varied and rich history. It doesn't matter where you're staying, from the presidential suite to just a standard room, the Raffles will definitely deliver. Now close your eyes, step back in time. The year is, say, 1926, and you've just landed at the P&O Steamship Line's wharf in Singapore, capital of the British Crown colony of the Straits Settlement. It's hot, very hot, and meltingly humid. Fortunately, relief will soon be at hand. You clear customs, make arrangements for your luggage, and then you're in a taxi, or why not, a rickshaw to the Raffles Hotel. The home away for home from Americans from the East. 20 minutes later, you're sitting on the terrace of the famous Long Bar, and there's a young Malay taking your order. It can only be a gin sling. Singapore is famous for them, and the Raffles has a reputation for making the best ones. A few minutes later, you're looking at a tall glass full of a mixture of gin, lemon or lime juice, ice, soda water, and, well, there's the rub. Ever since the 1920s, when the Singapore or Straits Sling made it onto the world stage, everyone has agreed that there's something else in there. But what that ingredient is has been up for debate. Here's a Singapore Sling on your left-hand side. Make your own tonight. Nowadays, the Raffles, which claims to have invented the drink in 1915, takes the expansive approach and throws in a lot of pineapple juice, splashes of cherry brandy, Cointreau, grenadine, and a couple of dashes of bitter. That can be tasty, but even the Raffles agree it might now not be how they originally made them. So, one of those things that's iconic, when you travel to Singapore, you've got to go to Raffles and have a Singapore Sling. Take a photo, post it up onto Facebook. You'll get thousands of likes, maybe on Instagram, or maybe keep it for your own little keepsake. Now, the Raffles Hotel is located in Singapore's colonial district and home to several other historic sites. Among them is the Raffles landing site, where Sir Stamford Raffles is said to have stepped ashore in 1819. The restoration was designed to ensure that we retain what is so special about Raffles: the ambience, the service, the charm, and the heritage of the hotel. Singapore was not spared the horrors of the Second World War, and the Changi Chapel and Museum tells the story of those who suffered during this period of time. The museum displays the letters, the photographs, the drawings, and personal effects that are now testaments to the imprisonment of more than 50,000 civilians and soldiers in Changi Prison. The Changi Chapel, found in the open-air courtyard of the museum, is a replica of one of the many chapels that were built during the Second World War. It stands as a monument for those who would not fold under Japanese rule. A must-see in the museum is a series of murals painstakingly recreated from originals painted by bombardier Stanley Warren. Guests can participate in a guided tour or opt for an audio tour that features accounts of Changi prisoners' wartime experiences. If you want something maybe a little bit more uplifting, check out the Singapore Zoo. Billing itself as the world's best rainforest zoo, the Singapore Zoo is a pretty impressive place. The facility is clean and inviting, and the animals appear well treated with plenty of lush vegetation and habitat space. Now, the orangutans are particularly impressive. They have a presence about them, and they can also open up a present or two as well. And visitors can watch as babies and adults alike swing high above their platforms and snack on bananas. Looks like they've got a jackfruit or something in their hands there at the moment. There is also a large chimpanzee family, zebras, meerkats, Komodo dragons, mole rats, white tigers, kangaroos, and many other creatures. Now, we would suggest allowing 3 to 4 hours to make your way around, and guests can observe feedings for some of the animals as well. If the zoo doesn't satisfy your need, but I'm sure it will, for getting close to wildlife, there's also the night safari, river safari, including a giant panda forest, and the Jurong Bird Park, which features these beautiful flamingos. However, for a unique and personal wildlife experience, try the Singapore Zoo breakfast with the orangutans. This is hassle-free tour, includes transportation from and to your hotel. Allow about a half a day to explore the zoo and has an optional upgrade to enjoy the breakfast in the company of the zoo's much-loved orangutans. As you can see here, 2 happy families enjoying breakfast. Chat to your travel advisor about this great experience. Now, Singapore itself isn't exactly known as a beach destination, but if you're really craving some fun in the sun, Sentosa Island is the place to find it. Siloso Beach is a good spot for getting in the beach time, and visitors can play volleyball, go kayaking, and also try skimboarding. There are several other beach attractions as well, plus there's an underwater world aquarium where you can swim with the dolphins. A must-see on Sentosa Island is the Merlion, Singapore's famous statue that has the head of a lion and the body of a fish. Now, Fort Siloso, the country's only preserved fort, is also located on Sentosa Island. Adventurous types will want to check out the flying trapeze and the sea breeze water sports at Wave House, where you can try your hand at flying strapped to a water-propelled jetpack, similar to the gentleman that you can see on the screen here right now. Orchard Road is a great place to start a shopping spree, so bring your credit cards, as there are high-end stores at every turn. You'd expect nothing less from a neighbourhood that boasts 22 malls and 6 department stores. There are also 4 movie theatres, including an IMAX and a KTV karaoke region. Now, if you get hungry while burning through all that cash, there are plenty of eateries in the neighbourhood serving international cuisine. And that's one amazing thing about Singapore. Since it is quite a small area, you can do a lot in a day, and also if you are travelling multi-generational groups, people can go off and do half-day tours, half-day excursions, and then come back and meet up maybe at a place such as Orchard Road for lunch. Now, Clarke Quay is another great place to visit. The centre of commerce during the 19th century. Clarke Quay lives up to its legacy as a busy hub. Today it has more polished sheen, so after a long day of shopping on Orchard Road, visitors can happily head to Clarke Quay for an evening of waterfront dining and entertainment. River taxis called bumboats and cruises also depart from here. And this is something that you'll love about Singapore as you go around to the nostalgic areas, the beautiful colours in the older parts of the city in regards to the beautiful vibrant colours you can see here, and also what we saw in the Arab Quarter and that earlier in today's presentation. There are also some quite important buildings of significance that have some great architecture to visit. One of those is the Empress Place building. It was constructed in 1865 and built in the neoclassical style and was named for Queen Victoria. It now houses the Asian Civilizations Museum, which delves into the many Asian cultures that helped form Singapore. I always find that this is a great starting point if you are travelling to Singapore. For a look at what life is in Singapore was like before it was the glamour and skyscrapers, you have to check out Granite Island, or Pulau Ubin. The National Parks Department calls it a trip here a throwback to Singapore in the 1960s, where people live in simple villages and farming and fishing are still a way of life. Now, we did touch on earlier, Singapore has often been viewed as a stopover, but we also have now seen people using it as a standalone destination and also a great option for pre and post cruising, because a lot of cruises either start and finish in Singapore or vice versa, start, finish somewhere else, or finish in Singapore, depending on which cruise line you book with. So working with a travel advisor and Asia Answers, we'd be more than happy to put a pre or post option together for you. So just chat to your travel advisor. A great way to consider Singapore is, people are often asked, how long should I spend in Singapore? My answer to that is depending on how long you have available and what you're looking at doing. But probably 3 to 4 nights would work ideally. But if you have longer, there is certainly enough to do if you've got a week or so. We often suggest, if you are going into Singapore, maybe for a cruise or just you're doing it as a stopover, to spend 3 or 4 days. Because on day one, you'll arrive, get to the airport, then transfer off to the hotel. Now, that can then the afternoon would be a day of leisure, which would allow you then to go maybe get a massage, to explore, just get an understanding and a lay of the land. On day two, we would often suggest doing a city sites tour, a morning tour of Singapore. So it's a half-day tour. So get up early, understand the important role of the river in and amongst Singapore, and then go off and visit areas such as the Civic District. What I love about the Civic District is where you learn a lot about the past, but you also learn a lot about what the people of the city like to do in their free time. And sport plays quite an integral role. And what you do find about Singapore is that they use every space to ensure that it is used for its maximum capability, so to speak. So you can actually see here people playing cricket. But then up here in the top right-hand corner, we've got a lawn bowls area, so you can play lawn bowls. And then over in here, you've got your tennis courts. And the area they're playing cricket on, you've still got soccer fields down here. You've also got an Australian rules football field with the big circle around the outside. So they're using this green space for a number of different sports to ensure that people enjoy their time in Singapore, and the people who live here can get to do a lot of the sports and activities that they love, because they do have a lot of expats that live here. And as you can see here, some people just playing some cricket. But this area is also famous for some of the more important structures, one of those being the Parliament House. The Parliament House of Singapore is a public building and cultural landmark. It houses the Parliament of Singapore and is located in the civic district of the downtown core within the central area. Within its vicinity is Raffles Place, which lies across from the Parliament House from the Singapore River, and the Supreme Court's building is also across the road. The Supreme Court of the Republic of Singapore is one of the 2 tiers of the court system in Singapore, and it's also very closely related to the other areas in and around here as well. We touched on this at the start of today's presentation. One of those places not to be missed, and you will do this on a morning half-day tour, is taking in the Buddha Tooth Relic Temple, and also taking in the National Orchid Garden as well in and around this region, because the green spaces, I believe, with Singapore, just go that a little bit further, because they don't have as many of them as other places around the world. So the ones that they do have, they ensure that they are meticulous. So that's a great day tour in and around the city. And then on day 3, it's all about exploring some of the other great attractions, going to the Gardens by the Bay, also taking in the sights of Marina Bay Sands that you can see here. Gardens by the Bay is a unique complex with 2 biospheres housing an unbelievable array of flora. The architecture of the complex is definitely cutting edge. And then you've got the afternoon of leisure. Now, that may be just wandering the streets, heading off to maybe one of the malls or the cafes or dining somewhere, and just getting a real Singaporean experience. And then on day 4, you could then look at taking your onward flight to somewhere else throughout Asia or heading back to the United States. It is definitely a destination that you could spend a week or so. That's just a quick little 4-day overview. But as you can understand, Singapore is an area that is growing in popularity. And since it is such a small area, a lot can be accomplished in a small period of time. Probably the question on the tip of everybody's tongue is, can I go to Singapore right now? And that's a yes and a no. And the reason why I say this, as of yesterday, Singapore is open, but if you are to go there as a US citizen, you do need to require to quarantine for 14 days. So for many people that are looking at traveling, for a holiday, quarantine once you arrive for 14 days is not something that you're probably most likely going to sign off on. However, moving forward, we're hoping to see Singapore open up early in the next year, new year, if not before. There are certain things happening in Asia. There's certain pockets that are starting to open up in Asia, certain little islands, and we've already started to see, obviously, Tahiti has opened up for the South Pacific, Africa, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda. They are starting to open up slowly as well. So what I do find about that is that we think the rest of the world will hopefully start opening up in line with other countries around the world. So if you are interested in traveling to any of the destinations, Singapore or any of the areas that we covered today, please chat to your travel advisor and they'd be able to give you some more information on any of the destinations that we cover throughout Asia, Africa and the South Pacific. But your first call needs to be the travel advisor that invited you here today, and they'd be able to get the ball rolling. Now, I did see a number of questions come through, and I'll endeavour to answer some of those right now for you. I can see some people here just saying thank you for the presentation. No problems at all, and that was from Daryl. Jacinta, thank you for your kind words. Jacinta, I know you've been on many of our virtual vacations, and that's the same for a lot of the names that I see jumping up here at the moment. Matt, I also see Sonia up here. Guys, we wouldn't be where we are today with all of our travel advisors jumping on board, and they actually came to our Director of Sales about 6 to 8 months ago, Jeff Adam, and said, Jeff, we need to ensure that everybody knows that we're still here. We're waiting for the world to open back up. We're ready to serve our clients. And we said, hey, the travel advisors have allowed us to learn so much about how we can move forward, and they are the lifeblood for us. So we are here to support our travel advisors and do anything that we can moving forward. So thank you very much for all the kind words. Perfect. Mara as well, thank you very much for your kind words there as well. Robin, lots of information and fun. Yeah, Robin, that's what it's all about, a virtual vacation. Obviously, we'd all love to be traveling right now. I'm the same. Many of you who don't know me, I'm Australian, but I've traveled throughout the world, and I'm looking forward to getting back out there as soon as possible and seeing anywhere. Hopefully, Singapore will be one of those first options. So keep our fingers crossed sooner rather than later. But as many of you all know, all in the travel industry, we are starting to see pockets open back up, which is great. And as I can see, some people here have referred to Tahiti and then also some other presentations that we've given. If you are relatively new or this is the first presentation you've been invited to, please reach out to your travel advisor and they'd be able to send you any of the recordings that we've done. So stay with us, because in a second I've actually got a slide that'll show you a number of the different recordings that we've had going forward. So any questions that I did miss, I'll endeavour to follow up with moving forward via email or giving you personally a call. As we touched on at the start of today's presentation, hey, need to be booking with a travel advisor. There's a number of different reasons. They're there on the screen right now. But what I said is it's personal service. That's when you can pick up a phone and you can have someone on the other end that can give you an answer or find out for you, as opposed to, a lot of the big box stores or those, places that may be offered elsewhere, that when you try to get an answer, they're quite happy to take your money, but you can't always get an answer. Our travel advisors and the team here at Asia Answers, Africa Answers and Down Under Answers are always here to help, or at least give you the answer that is going to be able to take a step moving forward. So thank you very much for that. Of course, I did touch on it. We have done a number of different virtual vacations over the last 6 to 7 months, everywhere throughout the South Pacific. If you do want any of these, please reach out to your travel advisor. So we've done Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, South Pacific, Kenya, Thailand, Botswana, even certain places in Australia, such as Queensland and Australia, please let us know. More than happy to have a travel advisor who invited you today to send you the link for the presentations. They're very similar to what you've had today. They run for about half an hour through to an hour, depending on the destination. So thank you very much for joining us. And I'd just like to say thank you very much for taking roughly an hour out of your day to learn a little bit more about Singapore and to take a virtual vacation through Singapore. We hope that we're all traveling again soon. We miss seeing your happy faces out there, all of you. Doesn't matter if you're a travel advisor or just a traveller. We all want to be back out in the skies soon or out on a cruise ship somewhere and traipsing around this great globe of ours. We'll be back. Asia Answers will be here to help all of our travel advisors moving forward. Have a great day. Stay kind to one another, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.